Hello there, and welcome back to the Chap's Guide. My name is Ash, and I am your host on this journey through men's style, self-development and personal grooming. Now, gentlemen, we have survived the winter. Another one is under the belt, and I bask today in the glory of a beautiful spring sunny day here in southern England. And as the season changes from winter to spring, so many other things must change in the intentionally well-dressed man's wardrobe. Now, as well as I put away the scarves and the gloves and the winter clothing, I also alter certain elements of my gentleman's wardrobe to reflect the changing seasons. One of those things, which is very important for me, is my fragrances, my scent. The things that I will use as my signature smell as the season unfolds. And I've put away those denser, more permeating fragrances that form my winter collection. The Aramis and all of those other deep, strong fragrances. And now I bring out kind of my spring fragrances. Not summer, not totally aquatic in nature, but spring. Some of these fragrances here for me are the demarcation between the deep winter and the lighter summertime which comes ahead. And these fragrances are much more lighter. They're airy, many are citrusy, and they bring a beautiful nuance to the way that I smell. Putting away those darker, denser winter fragrances and, opening the door to the wonderful lightness which comes with this better weather. So I've got 6 fragrances here which I think embody the change between that deeper, darker, denser winter fragrance and a lighter, airy, more refreshing fragrance, which is perfect for the beautiful warmth and the sunshine which comes along with the spring season. Now, some of these are classics. They are long-lived, old fragrances that have been around for a while. Others, they're a lot newer. They're relatively new within a few years. But they're all really, really great. Some are more expensive than others. That's true. There's nothing really expensive here. Everything should be at an approachable price for the ordinary gentleman just like me. So let me tell you what I think will be the best spring fragrances for your summer and spring collection. Okay, my first choice is this one over here on the end. It's the oldest one here on the table today, and it is still in its original box, and I've had it for a number of years, this one. It is Colonia by Agua de Parma, and this is a real old classic. First released in 1916, so now over 100 years of age. Agua de Parma is a fragrance which is light and uplifting. It's classy, it's old school. This is a fragrance which we know was a favourite of many of the Hollywood stars from the golden era. People like Cary Grant, David Niven were wearers of these. However, it is a light enough fragrance so that, just so citrusy and light and lemony. And it has hints of lavender, as I say, citrus, a little bit of sandalwood, but it's ever so light. So much so that it could easily be taken to be a unisex fragrance. We know that it was worn by many famous female stars back in that golden era. But Colonia by Agua de Parma, it's a classic. It reeks of old world charm. So if you want to smell really elegant in the boardroom or, going out on a date, you want to exude old school class, Colonia by Agua de Parma. There are many different versions of this today, but Colonia is the original. It is the classic. Let me tell you how much it costs. It's not cheap. £70 for 100 millilitres. Should last you for many years, but definitely one for the collection. Now, whilst Colonia can be deemed to be fairly expensive, by my collection here anyway, let's go for one of the cheapest ones here. And it's Agua Brava. Now, this isn't as old as Colonia. This has only been around since 1968, so well into its middle 50s, but it's a classic. I've got an aftershave version of it here. I've been wearing this for quite some time. It is a masculine, woody, citrusy fragrance, which absolutely Oh yeah, it reminds me of a walk through a Mediterranean forest in the summertime. It's got that slight element of pininess there. It's got lots of those really natural herbal fragrances, like little touch of sage, definitely, slightly herbal, but with that citrusy undertone, which is what you really look for in those summer months. And cheap as chips. £17 for 100 millilitres. So a classic fragrance, quite masculine, quite woodsy too. So perfect if that is the sort of thing which floats your boat and you want something light and refreshing in the summer months. Okay, now for the youngest fragrance here on the table, and it is Givenchy Gentleman Cologne. Only introduced in 2019, and it's the perfect choice for most summer and warm days, for good reason, because this is a very clean, fresh, very interesting fragrance. There is a very powerful hint of iris, so there's a florality to it which really does work well, but it smells like clean linen. It always puts me in mind of the airing cupboard in my house. Sounds strange, I know, but it works. It's a powdery, cleansy type smell, which, as I say, has got that little touch of iris going on. What else can I tell you about it? Bergamot and lemon underpins the fragrance, but the truth is, this is a lovely, light, clean, fresh smelling fragrance, which will be perfect for a professional who perhaps wants to smell like that in the office. It's a fragrance which nobody can take issue with. So ideal for, close proximity to people if you work close up. Not a long-lived fragrance, I have to say, only lasts on the skin for an hour or two. So, if you are working all day in an office, maybe take it in to work with you, keep it in the locker, have a little spruce up at lunchtime. But that is a classic, fresh, clean fragrance, perfect if that is the image and the impression you're trying to put across to other people who are perhaps in your close orbit. Okay, so at only £40, I think that's a really good deal. Now for another oldie and a classic, and one of my all-time favourites. It's Kouros by Yves Saint Laurent. Now Kouros, it is the olfactory soundtrack of my youth. This was released in 1981 and took huge acclaim. I remember going into nightclubs. I was 18 in 1988, so it was well into its stride by then. This dominated the 80s and the 90s. And I remember going into nightclubs and you could smell Escape by Calvin Klein, and most certainly Kouros by Yves Saint Laurent, and absolutely Drakkar Noir by Laroche. These were the olfactory soundtracks to my youth, and Kouros was definitely there at the top of that pinnacle. It is a distinctly unique fragrance, slightly animalistic. It's an aromatic fougere, never mistaken for anything else. There's nothing that smells quite like Kouros, and for me now it smells of the summertime. It is absolutely a summery fragrance. Let's get it on the back of the hand and remind ourselves. Oh wow, straight away, boom! It's like I've stepped into Doctor Who's TARDIS and I've been projected back in time 30, 40 years. Because that's what this fragrance does. Now I acknowledge that if you have no history with Kouros, you might not have the same association with it. It might not have that lingering, lasting love affair with you. If you're coming to this brand new and you're a younger person, it might be harder to love because you don't have the history. But for me, this is a leathery, what can I tell you about it? It's definitely greenish, leathery, jasmine fragrance to it, but it's powerful. It lasts on the skin for hour after hour, and it's a fragrance which is going to set you apart from the herd. Even to this day, when I occasionally wear this, I'll walk into a room and somebody of a similar age generally will say to me, "Are you wearing Kouros?" Such is its identification levels that, you know, people recognize this from the other side of the room. For me, perfect for summer. It's got that light summery fragrance, but it packs a punch. It's animalistic, it's powerful. It is, as I say, you know, something which sticks with you once you've smelled it. So for use only occasionally, I would say, not an everyday wearer. Perhaps you couldn't wear it into the office and maintain your composure, or certainly perhaps others may not contain their composure around you. But definitely Kouros, one of my favorites, a heritage classic. Okay, let's look at a cheaper one now. One which can be worn every day, and it's a perfect wearer, you know, just for carrying on with life, or if you just really like to wear something fresh and cheerful. And it is the Drakkar Essence by Laroche, one of the classic names from the 80s and 90s, but this is a 2014 release by Laroche, and it is very much a summery fragrance. Now, when I talk about summer fragrances opposed to spring, for me, summer is a time which is dominated by the aquatic fragrances, which all tend to stem from, you know, things like the Davidoff's Cool Water. Even though this one looks aquatic, it's got a blue bottle, it doesn't declare itself as an aquatic fragrance. However, that said, there is a distinctive seawater essence to it. It is fair to say that. It's a lovely little fragrance though. It's cool, it's minty. It's got a bit of citrus going on. It's light, uplifting and calming when it's on the skin. So ideal perhaps if you're wearing it in the evening and you want to relax and cool down, or even in the daytime. You know, again, it's a very nose friendly fragrance. It's not going to offend anybody. That minty citrusy element just really smells clean and fresh, and as I say, quite uplifting. And it is very cheap. I mean, this bottle, if I remember rightly, let me just check for you, £17 for 100 millilitres. That's only a 50 millilitre bottle, so cheaper again, but ideal for throwing in the sports bag, or you know, throwing in the briefcase. And if you want to smell nice in the afternoon, if you're away from, you know, your home base and you can't freshen up at lunchtime, a couple of squirts of Drakkar Essence propels you back into a fragrant summer gentleman. And at that price, you know, you can afford to splash the boat out and splash it around. Now, my final choice for the intentionally well-dressed gentleman who wants to be aligned with the season with his fragrance is a classic, the 1993 release by Chanel. It is a Platinum Égoïste. Costs about £85 per 100 millilitres, but when you buy Chanel, it never disappoints, that is fair to say. This is a very sophisticated and elegant fragrance, which, although has been around for quite a few decades now, it doesn't feel dated at all. This fragrance is timeless. It's going to smell perfect for the spring in 50 years' time as it does today. So what does it smell of? Well, it is a woody classic fragrance, and it's got quite a bit of florality to it, bit of musk as well, so it's quite masculine in its nature. Although it doesn't have citrus declared as an accord within its fragrance sort of pyramid, it does smell rather citrusy. And it's definitely got the power to pierce through those hot, fuggy days in the summertime where the heat is cloying, and you want a fragrance which has got the power to cut through those heavy, dense atmospheres. Platinum Égoïste by Chanel absolutely delivers on that regard, and it's a good long-lasting fragrance. It just smells very classy, very elegant, and you know, it is, if you want to smell like the ardent professional who wants to put across the best olfactory first impression that you possibly can, I would absolutely recommend Platinum Égoïste, because it's got power, yet it's got charm. It's a bit like an iron fist in a velvet glove. You know, it really delivers perfectly. Okay, gentlemen, so there we go. Those are my 6 options for a perfect olfactory soundtrack for your spring season. There are all different price points there. There's some which are over 100 years old. There are some which are as recently as 2019. So takes your choice. I will put links for these in the show notes below, so where you could find them for the best possible prices, as I have. But I think you'll find they are the perfect, you know, friend for the well-dressed chap who just wants to smell just right for those occasions that you'll come across in life. Now, if you have enjoyed this video, I would encourage you, of course, give us a thumbs up. If you've enjoyed the material, if you feel like it, subscribe, come on the journey with us. You can practically support the channel by buying us a coffee. You'll find the link to our Buy Me a Coffee page in the show notes below. And it remains just for me to say, take care of yourselves, gents. Make sure you smell well in this spring season to come across in the best possible way to those that you meet. And I will see you again very soon.